So it's Monday, and the first thing I saw when opening WhatsApp this morning was this message from my mother. If you'd like to know how my existential dread is going, it's going like that. I don't know, I feel like this age suits me. And also, I feel like I've been mentally 30 for about 3 years now. Like, as soon as I hit 27, I was like, yeah, this is it. We're sort of done with that phase, aren't we? Yeah. You know, 29 kind of passed me by. I've been telling people I'm 30 for like the last 9 months, just because that's what it feels like. There will most likely be a kind of birthday weekend vlog coming. Nothing particularly crazy happening. In fact, I will be working all 3 of those days. I will be bringing you along for any festivities and nice things that happen. Otherwise, folks, I am very happy about winter being here. I'm one of those people. I have to say, I wasn't really always this way in Scotland. Living now in Italy, where the seasons are much more defined, you get the kind of full pleasure and suffering of each one individually. You do learn to appreciate them all a bit more. Whereas in Scotland, I always tell people we have like 9 months of winter and then like 3 of spring. That's how I explain it. All of the festive lights have been switched on and things. All of the windows are all dressed up for Christmas. And this year, folks, I actually get to go home for Christmas instead of working in a fucking ice cream shop on the 25th of December. So I have to say, despite the dark, the rain, the cold, and finishing off another decade of life, things are unexpectedly rosy. Today is a chill one because it's obviously not super inviting, the idea of spending much time outside today. Predicting at the moment, depending on how the mood goes, depending on how much time I waste, that we'll get in a little workout, that we're going to be doing some reading. Because very recently, in fact, let me get it. This arrived a few days ago. I'm only like maybe a quarter, like a third of the way in. I'm one of those people who fold over the pages of books. That's what they're for, folks, relax. And it's a kind of collection of some classic pieces of Anthony Bourdain writing, as well as some bits and pieces that were never published. And it's been done really well. It all flows nicely into one another, even if it jumps from like one decade to another. And it's just always nice to remind yourself of his voice years after his passing. I would also like to get into some baking today, folks. I'd like to bring you a kind of at-home version of one of the dishes that we have on our menu in the restaurant I work in at the moment, because, folks, very, very excited to share that I currently have like 1.5 of my dishes on the menu, which for anyone who isn't the chef is already a big thing, but especially for a pastry cook, there could often be a lot of waiting and proving yourself before you're kind of trusted to put something on a plate, let alone on a menu. You know, when I started back in March, for example, I was making the dishes that were already on the menu. They didn't have a pastry cook at the time. The other cooks who are, you know, lean more towards savoury training, etc., were kind of doing a fairly simple menu, fairly simple prep, and I came in, I joined, I did that, and then we started kind of changing them as the months and the seasons changed, as the restaurant always does. By, you know, kind of late spring, summertime, I was, you know, fully responsible for making all of the prep for all of these spring and summery dishes that we had. I wasn't creating them. I was maybe adding a little bit of something here and there, some ideas, and I had, obviously, anytime I had some feedback, if something was genuinely more complicated than it was worth or something similar, I could obviously speak up about it. Whereas getting into where we are now, into kind of winter, into kind of late autumn and winter, you know, they really asked for more of my kind of creative input, which was terrifying, but also very, very exciting. So one of the dishes we have on the menu is a vegan option. You want to always have something dairy-free, at least in 2025. It's kind of, I'll put up a picture if I have one. It's a kind of 3-layer, almost like a chocolate delice idea. Chocolate, biscuit and coconut base, pomegranate gel, and then a kind of chocolate and coconut ganache on top in this kind of ingot bar shaped thing, which we're serving with a vegan coconut milk hazelnut sort of creme pâtissier, pastry cream, crema pasticcera, sort of. We also have some kind of coconut crumble, some pomegranate seeds, and a little bit of a coconut foam that we have going on there as well. Who am I? The actual kind of ingot thing was my idea, and the coconut crumble, but the like other components were all thanks to kind of the chef's input. And we made a plate that is really, really pretty, and it's selling well, so I'm very happy. And the other one is a sticky toffee pudding, which for any Brits watching, you will understand. You'll understand the hype, because truly there aren't too many kind of hot Italian desserts or like warm puddings, pies and things like that. You just don't really see it very often. There isn't the climate for it, there isn't the culture for it. Italians did really well with gelato, with tiramisu, and with, you know, some of the kind of smaller pastries and things that they make in the south. Otherwise, it's not always really a hub of dessert culture, I have to say. So when I kind of even explained the idea of like a sticky date cake that would be served hot with toffee sauce, both the chef and the owner were looking at me like, we've added in some more kind of refined elements. You know, we've got some little kind of mandarin pieces on the side. We have some toasted walnuts inside the cake itself. There's some mandarin zest in the sauce, and we're serving it with a little kind of quenelle of fior di latte gelato on top as well. And it's just lovely, folks. It's lush. It's really, really good. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy, not only because it was my suggestion, but also to see a touch of, you know, something so quintessentially British on an Italian dessert menu is just... So I was thinking, folks, if I can find all of the ingredients today, to make a sort of salted orange sticky toffee pudding, inspired a little bit by this one that we have on the menu, but a much more kind of homemade version, and also just because I'd like to eat one. So that's the plan for today. Literally the second that I turned my camera off, a parcel arrived from India. It's very exciting. I can't show you the contents of because it may contain some Christmas spoilers for someone who may be watching. But if you're interested in chocolate, craft chocolate, bean to bar chocolate, Italian chocolate, search for this. That's all I can say. It's 4 p.m, it's dark, folks. I really do feel at home. So the start of the afternoon is past running to and from places to get parcels. One was a palaver of epic proportions that took longer than expected, and I can't even show you the contents yet because it's also a Christmas present, and the person who's receiving it will probably be watching. Anyway, a little bit of a kind of fridge restock, food shop and ingredient shop done, lunch done, baking done, and very, very happy with how this sticky toffee pudding has turned out. I don't know if I actually explained it before, so if I did and you've already forgotten, or if I didn't, more likely, it's a quintessentially British hot pudding. Traditionally, I believe it was made in the kind of pudding dome thing, these like metal containers, these metal tins that were then boiled for a very long time, you know, traditional kind of British steamed pudding, not dissimilar to a kind of traditional Christmas pudding or even to a more Scottish kind of clooty dumpling, but more modern versions are typically baked in the oven because truly, who has the time and the effort to be doing all the string tying and the balancing and the boiling? The way it's mostly eaten now, much like this recipe I'm doing today and like the one we serve in the restaurant, is a baked version. It's essentially a cake with a base made from dates. Now, the dates in some recipes are often medjool dates. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I've always just said medjool. The medjool dates are delicious, eaten, you know, just eaten straight up as they are. But I find it almost wasteful to use them in a dessert like this because they basically have to be chopped into oblivion and then soaked in boiling water or in very hot water for kind of 15 to 20 minutes until they kind of soften and absorb the liquid. Now, medjool dates are already very, very kind of juicy and moist as it is, so they don't absorb that much of the water. And they're kind of delicious as they are. You know, in the same way that lots of people wouldn't use the same apples you would use for an apple pie as you would for eating, because eating apples are typically sweet enough. You know, you maybe want something tartar. I tend to buy just the kind of more basic, I think they're called Deglet Noor dates, the kind of smaller ones, which aren't as delicious to eat on their own, but they work perfectly fine in a dessert like this. While that's kind of soaking and everything, you have the usual kind of butter, sugar, and egg mixture, but the recipe actually uses very, very, very little fat. There's very little butter because our moisture is going to come from the dates and from the water that we soak them in. And this sugar is not going to be plain white sugar or even golden castor sugar. It's going to be proper muscovado sugar, that moist, almost black treacle-like sugar. And honestly, if I could replace every sugar with this one, I would, because it's got such a unique flavour and the colour it imparts is crazy. So using that, butter and eggs, we then add a mixture of flour, raising agent, some walnuts if you like. In this recipe I like to use walnuts, they do add a nice bit of crunch and texture, and a very hefty, generous pinch of flaky sea salt. You can use regular salt, but use a smaller amount. And the flaky sea salt really does add a specific kind of saltiness to it, the kind you would get in salted caramel. That then all gets kind of mixed together with the date mixture that's been kind of mushed up a bit, or completely blitzed if you like it kind of less textured. I don't mind finding the occasional kind of chunkier piece in there though. It all gets mixed together. It then gets baked for about 20 to 30 minutes at 170 degrees, depends on the oven. The full recipe, ingredients, instructions and everything will be in the description box below, and also on maverickbacon.com as always. And while you've got that going on in the oven, you're going to make your sticky toffee sauce, which is, as we all know, the best part. Now this is no kind of basic caramel, but that also makes it much easier and less frustrating to make. You're going to want to put an almost unholy amount of cream and butter into a pan with some more of that gorgeous, really dark sugar, another hefty pinch of flaky sea salt, and a grating of orange zest, which really kind of lifts this to be something a bit more kind of sophisticated alongside the salt. It also kind of stops it from just being aggressively sugary, because this is, you know, without debate, a sweet dessert. But the quantity of sugar I'm giving you in this whole recipe and the things we add to it really do help to balance it out, both in texture and in flavour, adding a little bit of almost bitterness, adding a little bit of saltiness. And this then just melts slowly before bubbling into a gorgeous thick toffee sauce, so that once your cake is baked and ever so slightly cold, because you don't want to eat it while it's still piping hot, but you do want to eat it warm, you can pour over a couple of spoonfuls, 3 ladlefuls, whatever you like, and eat it while it's all still nice and hot. It makes a gorgeous kind of proper after dinner dessert, or on a day like this, a very good way to pass the afternoon. I'm gonna get writing the recipe up right now as we speak so that I don't forget the measurements I used today. And then we're gonna chill, folks, whether that's reading, gaming, whatever I'm in the mood for. Once I'm finished, that's what we're gonna do.
Approved. È buono. Ma tu, da base, l'avevi già fatta?
In che senso?
In passato me l'hai già fatta mangiare?
Sì. No, a te? No.
Ma è la base di qualche altra torta?
Può essere.
Sono sicuro di averla mangiata.
Cioè, tipo la consistenza forse sì.
No, anche il sapore.
No, il sapore no.
Cosa ce n'è?
Must have been your other girlfriend.